5th, 2018. The time is 7 o'clock. Yippee, starting on time. All right, so at this point, we're going to have Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco lead us in an invocation, followed by the flag salute. We'll ask all those that are able to stand, so please do so.
We stand and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for all the many blessings you've given us all here in our community, and please give the wisdom to the leadership of this community to do the right thing and make the right decision. Bless those that have been put in harm's way that are protecting our country, the men and women in our armed forces, our firefighters and our police officers, and all those people that have been affected by the natural disasters throughout our country and throughout the world. We ask that you help them in this time of hardship. With those we ask this, O Lord, amen.
Amen. Thank you. At this point, we'll go ahead and face the flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and have a roll call that will be conducted by our city treasurer, Maria Contreras. Oh, or is it our city clerk?
I could do it.
Okay,
Good evening,
all right,
everyone.
That's fine. Thank you.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila. Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
President?
Mayor Pro Tem Monica Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Manuel Lozano.
Present. Thank you very much. Also, real quick, make an announcement. I want to close on behalf of Renee Robles, age 37, who has passed, and the funeral services will be held this week. And also, I want to also recognize Mr. Emmanuel Estrada, who also was one of the candidates for mayor of the city of Baldwin Park. Thank you also for being part of the actual process itself. Thank you. All righty. At this point, council members have any requests of anything? If not, I will go ahead and open up the public communication. Anyone wishing to speak, you have approximately 3 minutes. All right, so Mr. Mark Chu? Oh, all right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close the public communication. All right, thank you very much. Yes, sorry about that.
Lady, I wanted to speak.
Okay, we can, that's fine. All right, so at this point, I'll go ahead and reopen the public communications. Baselin. So, do we have a translator? Thank you, appreciate that.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Nosotros somos Luis y Sara Olmedo y somos vecinos aquí de la calle Judith Street. Tenemos aquí 40 años viviendo en esta comunidad.
Good afternoon. I am a neighbor of Judith Street. Been resident for 40 years.
Estamos aquí para reportar un problema que está sucediendo ahí en nuestra calle. Desde que se puso la luz a la salida del freeway, cuando se pone la luz verde, que vienen saliendo del freeway, los vehículos corren a mucha velocidad.
We're here to report an issue on our street, right off the freeway ramp. There's a light and there's a speeding issue in that street.
En los últimos meses ha habido varios accidentes, han golpeado nuestros carros y estamos viviendo un momento que es peligroso tanto para los vehículos como para las personas, porque tenemos que tener mucha precaución cuando salimos afuera o queremos salir con los carros.
In the last few months, we've had various issues with collisions in parked vehicles, and we have to be very cautious when we walk outside and be cautious of oncoming traffic.
Lo que estamos pidiendo es que pongan unos túmulos y unos signs a la salida del freeway que diga que es 25 millas y los túmulos bordos o bueno, yo le digo túmulos. Ajá. para que la gente tome precauciones y podamos estar tranquilos, porque realmente para nosotros es muy duro estar pensando qué va a pasar. Nosotros traemos ya 3 reportes de 3 accidentes que ha habido y hay otros más. Entonces queremos que por favor nos escuchen.
She's requesting signage be placed at 25-mile-an-hour zone and speed bumps to limit the speeding in that area. And she has 3 accidents in hand and 3 more that I guess were not brought. ¿Tiene 3 más? So a total of 6 accidents that are reported here, and is asking council's cooperation and requesting that the council assist the neighbors with this matter.
Bueno, nuestro deber es, porque ustedes no saben lo que está pasando. Y sabemos que si ustedes no saben, pues no pueden hacer nada, pero para eso estamos aquí, para que ustedes se den cuenta el problema que estamos teniendo. Y
otro punto muy importante, que nos han agredido verbalmente.
también cuando hemos saliendo del driveway, verbalmente también nos agreden porque estamos estorbando según ellos, ¿verdad?
They say that they've experienced verbal abuse, I guess from oncoming traffic, because they're trying to prevent them from speeding. And she wants to alert the council that there's an issue so that something can be resolved.
Okay, muchas gracias. Voy a hablar sobre eso. Vamos, pásale. Yes.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Estamos acá nosotros porque necesitamos ayuda. Por favor, que se nos ayude urgentemente.
They're requesting that you urgently help them with this matter.
A nosotros somos personas ya de la tercera edad, ya estamos mayorcitos. Y estas cosas nos preocupan mucho porque tenemos un área que muchos niños van a la escuela y corren peligro. No queremos que un día vayamos a tener una cosa muy seria, un atropellamiento de una persona inocente.
They're requesting assistance because they're seniors, and there's also a school located nearby, and they're also fearful that an accident may happen to a child.
Aquí tenemos los reportes de los accidentes que hemos tenido en esa cuadra. Y a mi nieta estuvieron a punto de atropellarla. En cuanto abrió la puerta de su vehículo, una muchacha se estrelló en su puerta y no la ayudaron.
He's saying that his granddaughter was almost involved in an accident on an oncoming vehicle, and they do have reports in hand of reports from police.
Raise your hand.
From the DMV?
We gotta put the bump.
Oh yeah, police report, sorry.
Okay, yes. All right. Muchas gracias.
Excuse me, can we have his name for the record?
¿Su nombre, por favor?
Luis
Oh,
Alonso Olmedo. Mi esposa Sara
thank you.
Olmedo.
All right.
Lourdes, Hermosillo. Bueno, estoy aquí con ellos por la misma situación también. La experiencia que he tenido yo es que cuando salen del freeway a una velocidad alta, a mí me ha tocado que verbalmente me han agredido, y es por eso, por la misma razón que estoy con ellos aquí, apoyándolos para que pedirles que por favor hagan algo por nosotros.
She's echoing other comments. She wants council support on this matter. She has also experienced verbal abuse and is concerned with the speeding in that particular zone.
Otra cosa importante también, cuando está la luz en verde y que salen, hay un alto enseguida de la luz, más adelante, la gente no lo hace, no hace el alto, se van así. trailers pasan por ahí. Otra cosa muy importante, cuando estuvo la construcción del puente, definitivamente esa construcción se llevó muchísimo tiempo, molestó bastante a los vecinos. Quisiera también que vieran algo de eso porque hubo casas dañadas y nadie ha hecho nada por ello. Okay, so por favor les pedimos que hagan algo por nosotros.
She also is stating when there was construction in that area, some houses were damaged, and she also wants council to respond to that. And big rigs were passing by, and I guess the street is very damaged due to that.
Yes.
And I guess the drivers are not obeying signage or lighting.
Yeah,
Signal lighting?
Yeah, they need to be fixed at that street. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? And I'll address it momentarily. At this point, anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, here comes Rooney. Planning Commissioner. Good evening.
Hello, my name's Kevin
Tell
Rooney.
them to wait. Tell them to wait for now.
Oh.
Tell them to wait until I finish my comments.
Hold on.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to echo a lot of the residents when I was going door to door during the elections. In front of the schools, they got like one speed bump, and all of the residents were requesting like second speed bumps in front of the school because people speed and then they slow down, go over that speed bump, and take off again. So the residents of Baldwin Park would like, more speed bumps, at least one more speed bump in front of the schools because, the children's at risk over there. Also in front of Walnut School, they have a solar sign they put in like 2 or 3 years ago for telling people to slow down and having the speed limit for 25 there. And the residents were saying that it never worked, that you guys put it in and it never even worked for the last 2 or 3 years. It's just been black. So if you could look into fixing that, I'd appreciate it. Also, there's another one of them in front of Holland School that needs fixing. So I am just asking that you guys look into it, fix it, and maybe put another speed bump in front of all the elementary schools and junior highs to keep the kids safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kevin Rooney. Anyone else wishing to speak on a public communication? Alrighty, seeing no further interest, I will now declare the public communication closed. Real quick, let me just mention, I'm very familiar, I always are familiar with that exit. That's the Fraser exit, and there is so many vehicles. And I myself, this past Saturday, individuals headed wherever they're headed. Of course, it kind of targets up where Kaiser's at, so they just speed down that street. I know at one time I asked for us to review and possibly consider placing some speed bumps. So now we're going to have to do it. Let's just do it. Let's not wait for a long study. I mean, we got hopefully these other funds through the cannabis, and we need to allocate some of these speed bumps throughout the city. Southgate, as an example, has these kind of look like some kind of durable rubber, whatever it is. It's a whole different. I'll have to take a snapshot of that. It's very interesting. So we don't have to have the cement one where it just takes forever. Quiero decirles a ustedes que todos nosotros aquí estamos de acuerdo con ustedes. Estoy pidiendo en este momento que se haga algo. No queremos un estudio que dure 6 meses antes de hacer algo. Yo el sábado pasado, muchas veces más fácil para mí salir del freeway en esa área del Fraser, pero miro los carros que se van muy acelerados en esa área. So just letting them know, of course, that I've seen that and experienced the vehicles that come out of the area and they traverse there at a very high speed. So we need to definitely do something. So Sam, bring something at the next meeting. Let's make it happen, please. Okay. So, and you need to get together with the residents as well. At this point, I'm going to give the mic over to Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sam, what would it take to take a look at that and slow down the traffic? It's on Judith Street, which is where it crosses Fraser, as the cars come off the freeway on that area. I mean, I know you got to study it, but do we need to, can we put that sort of that rubber mat that I think the mayor was talking about? I think
that's
I've
what it
seen them
is.
in
You're right.
cities.
Yes, yes.
And they bolt them down. Is there something that we can do or start to put signs? I mean, I don't want to wait for a study. I don't think you could put signs. I mean, there's a speed limit, and I know you could put some speed signs or maybe slow down or whatever it is we can put up there, but do you think there's something we could do immediately to address our residents here?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, the Fraser Street is currently in design to be rehab, and the quickest way to provide something for there, and we're bringing the project to council for authorization to bid. The quickest way to do something is to build it into that project. We are going to gather details from the residents to see where the problems are. We're going to take it very seriously. As of tomorrow, we'll go out there and start looking at some solutions, and I'll come back and present some of those solutions to the council, whether it be speed bumps or signage or whatever it is, but we'll address it very quickly.
Okay, now you said that right now, at this meeting, we're looking at something in effect to that area?
So we're doing pavement rehabilitation right in that area. So at Judith, we're doing Fraser from Judith all the way down to Walnut Creek Park.
Is that on the agenda or is something you're doing?
It'll be on the
Oh, it will
agenda
be on
in
the
January.
agenda.
We're almost
Okay.
done with that design. So
Okay, well, can you get out there and visit with these residents? Make sure you
Absolutely.
know their concern? And
Absolutely.
let's make sure we address that issue immediately. I don't want to wait for a study or till January. Christmas is coming, there's going to be a lot of traffic, and I want to make sure that we address them.
Okay.
Mayor, I
Yes,
have,
yes,
Ah, bueno, just want to
Councilmember.
finish. Bueno, les quiero decir que le estamos pidiendo al alcalde y yo, el concejal, que ellos salen rápido para ir a ver, hablar con ustedes y hagan algo, si es simple, poner un anuncio, algo rápido para que empezamos a ver este problema. Dice el ingeniero que van a empezar a hacer un proyecto en el área, en esa calle, a arreglar, que ponen más líneas o cambiar, tú sabes cómo está ahorita, pero para empezar más rápido, antes de Navidad, les estoy pidiendo que van ellos a hablar con ustedes y empezar a ver qué se puede hacer al momento. Gracias.
All right. Yes, at this point, Councilmember Alejandra Avila.
thank you. Yes, I want to address Mr. Rooney's comment. I agree with you, Mr. Rooney. When I was walking, I came across the same thing. So, Sam, if we can look at actually other areas around the schools, not only is it not safe for children to cross, we need to look at the cleanliness of the area. I know when I was walking my children to school, I would like to have a nice, clean street that's safe for my children to walk in. I'm sure all of our families want that. And I did notice our streets in those areas need a lot of help. So if we can have staff go look at all the surrounding streets in the surrounding areas by the schools, especially the one over there by Baldwin School where the nursery is, there's a section that the kids use as a path. Maybe we can work something with the nursery so we can get that area paved and lit. There's no light. It's always very dirty. People just throw trash. But not only that, there's a lot of areas around our schools that need a lot of help. And I want our families to feel safe and be proud of the areas that they're walking in when they're taking our children to school. Thank you, Mr. Rooney, for that.
All right, thank you, Councilmember.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Vice Mayor Monica Garcia.
Thank you. I do want to ask that our police department, and I think
Yes.
they're already on it, but have our traffic patrols go out to this area even as early tomorrow. I know that the police help with like traffic control in the area with the Kaiser, and the off-site parking. So if we can just have more presence in that specific area, because I can only imagine that people are getting off the freeway and then racing through our community, perhaps to go, through our city into other cities, and so they're not really being careful. So we can get those patrols, and again, perhaps it can be in coordination with some of the police presence that we already have, because they're helping to control traffic in the area on Baldwin Park Boulevard in the morning.
Absolutely, ma'am.
All right, then just, thank you, and I know the chief will have Camp Barnally meet up with him right now, so we get something going. Lo que van a hacer, entonces vamos a trabajar para poder resolver este problema que tienen allí. Va a hablar la Departamento de Policía con ustedes. Okay, gracias. Para qué es lo que van a hacer ellos mientras? Yes.
I'd also like to just mention, because Kevin Rooney makes, very good
Yes.
points about just the traffic mitigation around our schools, and I know that that's a priority for us here on the council. I'm also wondering where, if any, are we going to have additional crosswalks that have those like flickering lights? Because I don't know, the ones on Baldwin Park Boulevard are not that effective, whereas the lights on Francisquito near Sierra Vista High School have been more effective. So I just want to make sure that, you know, when we do try to mitigate traffic, that it's using the most effective method possible. So do we know if there will be any more of those kind of just random flashing?
Yes.
There will be?
So as part of the same project that I mentioned before, we have 2 locations. I know, Alejandro, we talked about one, the one that you just mentioned on Elway. That's going to incorporate the same type of safe lighting and lighted crosswalk. And we're also installing it at another location near the flyover that they were mentioning earlier to make it safer for the kids. We've got a lot of complaints about those. So those 2 crosswalks are part of the plan, and they'll be in the same project that we just talked about, and we'll be incorporating some solutions for Judith in that project as well. And again, it's coming in January, the second meeting in January.
Okay, so Sam, let me ask you a question. There's a crosswalk on Francisquito near
Yes.
Sierra Vista High School, and then that's a very different type of crosswalk than the one on Baldwin Park Boulevard.
Right.
So which of these crosswalks will be implemented in the projects you're referring
The
to?
one by Sierra Vista.
Good.
What we did over at at Baldwin Park Boulevard is just a stopgap. Those are the flashing reflectors. Those are solar powered. So we just put those as a stopgap to keep awareness. But we could look into putting a lighted crosswalk there as well, similar to the one near Sierra Vista.
Yeah, I would say that I've actually received complaints about the flickering crosswalk because I think people become desensitized to it after a while and they don't take it serious because it's constantly flickering.
Yeah.
So it's just something to keep in mind. I have received complaints about it, and I think that the one near Sierra Vista High School is much more effective. So something to keep in mind.
Also, if I may, I want to let Rudy know that the speed feedback signs, we know that they're not working, we're aware of it. It involves a proprietary software with a vendor, and we are currently in the process of getting those fixed. So those will be fixed very soon.
Let me just also, Sam, if we could look into, you go into certain areas of Covina, you see the stop sign, octagon shape, of course, right? With those flashing red lights on it, that is so effective. I've seen a couple in El Monte. Let's see if we could locate some of those and put them out here in Ballpark as well.
The gentleman that lives on Murbury and Puente, the cowboy man, he's always with.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he requested one of those, and we're going to be putting one of those on Puente Avenue in Murbury. So.
I know who he is. You know, and I think part of it. Well, we could set up a meeting because there's a lot of places that we need these particular types of these.
Right.
We say not just in those areas, but throughout the city. I mean, it's funny. Where's it? Is it Beverly Hills or one of those cities where every block there's a stop sign in the neighborhood, so you're not going to speed, right? I think that we need to look at more stop signs in the neighborhoods besides the actual speed bumps as well. So let's set up a meeting. And let's go crazy with speed bumps. You know, I think that'd be an opportunity for us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Again, let's prioritize the school areas first and then move from there. I would like to see that.
The schools have always been prioritized. As a matter of fact, that's where the vast majority of speed bumps have been located because that's where the grant was allocated for.
Right. And we have been doing, I don't know if you noticed, we have been doing the safe routes to school improvements, the bulb outs. We did Tracy and Sierra Vista where we installed. And we just finished doing, I think it's Pleasantville.
Yes.
So we just installed those over there as well. So it's a slow process, but we're getting to all of the schools and then bringing all these improvements to them.
And Sam, you have a safe routes to school plan, right? That's up to date, and you're using that as your guideline, and as you get funding, make those improvements?
Yes, that is the master plan that we designed from. Those recommendations we incorporated into our plan, and we're doing 1 or 2 schools at a time.
Perfect. Oh, awesome. That's great. So we could do that, and I think that will serve its purpose. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So at this point, I will go ahead and go into the consent calendar. So we have the total of 8 different items here. Council members wishing to pull any item?
I'd like to pull item 5 for discussion, please.
Okay. Item 5 is being requested by Council Member Alejandra Avila.
So this is the ordinance speaking about the vending.
Oh, that's right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, sidewalk
I'm sorry.
vending.
Did you want to approve the other four? And then,
Meantime.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. All right, at this point, I'd like to move for consent calendars with the exception of item 5. That's my motion.
Second.
Been seconded by Vice Mayor Monica Garcia. Any objections? Seeing none, so move. All right, so at this point, we'll go to item 5 requested by Councilmember Avila, which reads as second reading of ordinance number 1431, entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Baldwin Park, California, regulating the business of sidewalk vending as defined by state law. So at this point, Councilmember?
Yes, so I have a few questions. I know it's urgent for us to vote on this, but I do have some questions on the items. I know it's asking for insurance requirements, and I was reading the amounts of money that it needs to be insured for. I just want to make sure that this is going to be affordable for them. Staff, did anybody inquire about how much it's going to cost them to get an insurance that covers $100,000 for bodily, $300 for occurrence, for all these amounts that we put here? Do we have an idea how much they're going to have to pay monthly for this?
Laura is not here from risk management. I know we ran these numbers by her. We didn't do exact research on that, but it was recommended from some of the research we did because if there is an accident on the city sidewalk and if they're not insured, and this is a very low amount, most of the city vendors, we require $1 million insurance. So the concern is that there be at least a minimum amount because if there is an injury and the person was licensed by the city, but they don't have insurance, then the city will be the one basically to be sued.
Right, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that it's being cost prohibitive to our small businesses. We want to make sure we keep our small businesses and we're working with them. So that's a concern of mine, so we can more or less get an idea how much they're going to be paying for
What
this.
we can do, and you'll see this on twice tonight, because we did have a first reading at the last meeting, and we're having the second reading tonight. But realizing that this doesn't take an effect until 30 days after the second reading, you'll also see the next item is a public hearing for the same item to enact an urgency ordinance so that it can be effective by January 1st. Because according to state law, if it's not effective by January 1st, the city cannot regulate these at all.
Right.
But what we can do is come back with that information for you and any other questions you may have, because any changes tonight would have us go back over to a first reading and a second reading again. But we can bring back any information and any answers that you seek tonight at a later meeting and get you that information. And then after the first of the year, we can come back and make minor changes to the ordinance at that time once it's in effect.
Okay. And another question I have, do you know how much the permit fee is going to cost for this? Is it going to be monthly, yearly? How are we charging?
The business license fee I did discuss with Rose, and I'm not sure I remember that number. Rose, do you remember the business license fee for the street vendor? It was pretty nominal, I recall.
We are going to charge them the same like the truck.
The same as the ice cream truck.
Which is how much?
Correct.
Do you know at the top of your head?
About 100 something.
That sounds
Yearly?
about right
Is that
to me.
yearly or?
Yes.
But I can email you. I can email you the also. Tomorrow I will email.
Okay. One more question on this one. I know it's asking for an ID, a California ID. What other accepted form of ID are we going to accept from them if they don't have a California ID?
ID.
Because they may not have a license or social security number.
So, I'm sorry, and are you referring to item, and I'm looking at staff report,
It's
item
on
6.
Page 8.
There's some bullet points.
Mhm.
You're looking at page 8 of the ordinance?
Yes.
Because there is a requirement for a California Department of Tax and Fee Administration seller permit, and that is required by the state.
So if they don't have a California ID or social security, automatically disqualified?
I don't believe so. I'm sorry. And what page were you looking at that?
Maybe I can help a little
Go ahead,
bit.
legal counsel.
On section 122.15, application for operator's permit, subsection 9A, it says that the applicant must furnish a California's driver's license or social security number of the above described natural persons. So that's for the application. I think Councilmember Avila is wondering if that we can accept other IDs if they don't have a California driver's license.
Right.
And I think, Robert, you might be able to comment on this, that we would be able to accept any, I would think, any California ID.
I believe any government
Or any government,
ID that would
legal
be,
ID.
Yes, I believe would be suffice. And I think that in order to accommodate that, as you mentioned earlier, we may need to make some very small changes to the ordinance after the first.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman, were you finished, Councilman?
Yeah, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you for
Councilman,
that.
thank you, Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
So I just want to understand that if we make changes right now to this ordinance, it would have to come back as a first reading? We can't change it as a first reading and include the changes in there?
If you make any changes tonight, we will not be able to make this ordinance effective by January 1st, and therefore we will never be able to regulate street vending. So it has to be passed as the first reading exactly tonight. Then we're going to pass, and then the council is going to consider an urgency ordinance that'll make it effective tonight. Therefore, it'll be in place before January 1st. Otherwise, it would take 30 days from today, which means that it would be in effect after January 1st, and we would be prohibited from regulating street vending at that point.
So we can still regulate if we pass tonight.
Yeah, you can't make any changes tonight if you want to be able to regulate.
So this would have to go through a first reading, a second reading, and then we can change it in January?
That's correct. If you pass it tonight, then you can revisit this again in the first meeting in January and amend an ordinance just like you'd amend any other ordinance.
Okay, then I'd like to see it brought back immediately after the second reading to look at this again.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry about that. So if we don't, then the state will implement theirs. Is that what we're talking about?
The state already has street vending regulations, and we're going to have to follow theirs unless we pass this.
Okay.
So we have
So
to
we
pass
better pass
this
this, yes,
and then
we
modify it in
Right.
January.
And if
That's
you want,
correct.
if you want to give us some direction, I know Alejandra's also are already given us a couple items to look at. But if you have any other items that you would like to see brought back to you in January and changed, then we could prepare that and get it moving.
Okay, I guess just looking at other types of IDs, you know, as the councilwoman had brought up, you know, passports, the matricula from other countries' IDs or ones that are accepted by the embassies in this country. Also, the cost, I think you really need to look at the cost. It has to be reasonable, as the councilman had brought up. It needs to be, I don't know, a permit fee of $25. You're going to have to look at the insurances to see what, I don't know what these costs are, but you need to bring that up. I mean, I'm looking through here, so are these, this information that they're requiring, is it going to disqualify them? You're asking for history of, a permit history of the applicant. If he doesn't have that, does he disqualify him? Criminal convictions, pleas to guilty. I mean, are all these the things that are going to disqualify people that are applying for these types of permits? I mean, are these disqualifiers, the ones that are listed here on page 9, under section C of 122.16, applications for vendor's permit?
It's typical information there that is required for business licenses. There is some information I think you read from item 10B about criminal convictions. And what we tried to do to get this on is provide an ordinance that is somewhat strict, but to get it done. And if you'd like it to relax any area, we can do that with the amendment when we bring it back in January.
Okay. I'm just saying be reasonable, not necessarily relax. I mean, I want to identify the person, but I don't want to make it so restrictive that the average person couldn't apply for it and so expensive that the average person can apply for.
Right, we need to keep in mind that these vendors are out there making a living. They don't make a lot of money as it is. And I'm sure a lot of them, if they weren't to have this business of their own, they probably would be homeless because they wouldn't have any money. So we need to be able to make it easier for them.
All righty, any further questions? So at this point, we're going to go ahead and make a motion. Okay, motion to pass the, item number 5, which is the second reading of ordinance number 1431, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Baldwin Park, California, regulating the business of sidewalk vending as defined by state law. So at this point, there's a motion by Councilmember Avila. Is there a second? Motion by you. Second. Excuse me, motion, second by you. Sorry about that. So at this point, any objections? See none, so moved. All right, so at this point, we'll go over to the public hearing. We have several. The first one is the adoption of the urgency ordinance to regulate sidewalk vending response to state law, Senate Bill 946, LADA, sidewalk vending. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. So anyone wishing to speak in favor, this is the time to do so. You have 3 minutes. All right, Mr. Emmanuel Estrada, good evening.
My name is Emmanuel Estrada. You said it already. So SB 5946 was actually written in consideration of immigrant street vendors. So I think that you guys making these very strict regulations would not work very well with that. It was actually inspired by a case where a street vendor was arrested and sent and given over to ICE. So part of the point of regulating street vending is to make immigrant and low-income families feel a little bit safer and entrepreneurship. And I want to speak in favor of street vending and making it more accessible and not only allowing it, but also promoting it strongly. I think it allows immigrants and low-income families to be entrepreneurs and also gain economic independence, especially in the current economic situations that we all face. Currently, 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. It considers, it also decriminalizes street vending, and it can better the relationship between the police department and people of color. It can create revenue for the city through permit fees, and it can also contribute to the money circulation and a better local economy in our city. So it can help better our economy and give us a unique and organic method of purchasing culturally valuable goods such as food and other products. And so also regarding the ID, that would go back to kind of making it, kind of being backwards about it. I think it's very important for the immigrant community to be able to access these licenses and be able to afford them. And as for the Social Security, I think many of them won't have it. So I would really urge you to look at that's a necessity, if that's actually something that's necessary, or not, maybe they can use an ITIN or something else. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, anyone else wishing to speak under the public hearing in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, seeing no opposition, I now go ahead and close the actual public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, unless council members have any questions. The adoption of the urgency ordinance, excuse me, that the city hold a public. We have to set a foundation for the. Yes, all right. At this point, thank you for reminding me. We'll have the legal counsel cover a portion of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason for this urgency, or reason that this urgency has arisen, is that we found out after the agenda was posted that if we were not passing this ordinance before January 1st, that we would have a situation where we could no longer regulate. So in the interest of the public health and safety, this ordinance is now an urgent ordinance, and it would require a 4/5 vote in order to pass.
All right. Thank you very much. So at this point, I'll go ahead and go for the adopt urgency ordinance number 1432, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Baldwin Park regulating the business of sidewalk vending as defined by state law. That is my motion. Is there a second? Second. Who seconded it? One more. Excuse me. Okay, Councilmember Paul Hernandez seconded. Any objections? I see none, so moved. All right, at this point, we'll go over to item 7, which is also a public hearing. A request.
Mayor, if I could just get clarification from the attorney, going back to item 9
Yeah, go ahead.
and 5. So item 5 is to approve the business license for vending, and And then item 6 is to approve the ordinance for under state law, SB 946.
I can clarify that for you, Councilmember Pacheco. The second reading is so that we actually have an ordinance. So the second reading, we now have an ordinance that was passed, but that ordinance does not become effective for 30 days. If we allowed that to stand, we would not be able to regulate because it did not become effective before January 1. As a result of that, I drafted an emergency ordinance, the exact same ordinance, except that it's an emergency ordinance. If you pass that today, it becomes effective immediately, and therefore you will have an ordinance in place before January 1st. So that's why we passed the second reading, and then now we're doing an emergency ordinance in order that we don't have to wait the 30 days for it to become effective.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All righty. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so at this point, that's in pass. We'll go to item 7, which is a request to the City Council for the Planning Commission on an amendment to Development Agreement 18 to change the location from 14712 Arrow Highway to 4802 Little John Street, Suite A, for a cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility within the I industrial zone pursuant to ordinance 1408, location 4802 Little John Street, Suite 8, applicant The Growth Folks Inc., case number 1818. So at this point, are you going to be covering this?
We have a short slideshow if you need to see it. I know you have seen this information before, most of you, but this is simply a change of location for an existing permit. Planning Department, Ron and his staff have vetted the location, verified that it meets all of the setbacks, the distances, and it is in the proper zones. If you would like to see.
All we're doing here is basically they're just changing locations.
Correct.
So
Can we see the slideshow?
yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council. Interim Associate Planner Erica Ramirez will be giving the presentation.
Okay.
All righty. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
This is the first location. On August 8th, 2018, the Planning Division received a change of location application from the Grown Folks for CAN number 17-23, and they would like to change the location from 14712 Arrow Highway to 4801 Little John Suite B. This is the original location. Here's a street view, just to remind us of it. And then this is a close-up of the new location. So the new location is southwest of the original. This is another street view just to remind us of the new location. The original location square feet was 4,800 square feet, and the new location is approximately 6,500 square feet. If there's any questions, then I'd be glad to answer them.
All right, council members, have any questions? If not, or we could come back for further questions. I'll go ahead and open up and entertain the actual public hearing. So anyone wishing to speak in favor, this is the time to do so. Anyone opposing? All right, see no interest in the public hearing, I will now declare the public hearing closed. Councilman, have any questions? If not, I'll go ahead and read the ordinance.
I do have one question.
Sure, yeah, Councilman Alejandra Avila.
I know there's a fee for the change of location. Since this is new to me, what is that fee for the change of location, and when is that due?
I believe that's an application fee that they had to make. They probably have already paid it. I'm not sure if staff has that. It's a processing fee. I'm not sure if you have that.
Actually,
amount.
it's a processing fee for resubmittals of $1,000.
And it's been paid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be paid prior to accepting the application for completion.
And that's to cover the staff time to process the application and review it.
Okay.
All righty.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Monica Garcia.
Did you have more questions?
I have another question. It doesn't necessarily have to do with these two companies, but I do have a concern on our applicants and making sure that they're not already working in these locations or doing business, because I know there's one of the companies that's questionable that we think they may be operating already. This is for the chief. The one company that we think is maybe operating, what are we doing about that, and what are we doing to make sure that none of the other companies are going to do that? Are we getting a search warrant? What are we doing to check to see if they are operating or not?
We have our staff going out there randomly with the code enforcement, and we're doing location checks. Usually it's about weekly, isn't it, Joe? And so we check on the locations. Sometimes we have a little difficulty getting a hold of the owners, but eventually they come around. So we are checking the locations. We have no evidence that's articulable enough to write a search warrant to make entry into the locations. The laws in these areas are very weak, and the proof level is very high. So it makes it a little complicated for us, but when we have something that gives us strong, specific evidence, then we'll get a search warrant, and surely we'll go into the location.
So you're saying right now we don't have any strong evidence to be able to do that?
No, we just have a lot of innuendo that people say that things are going on there, but we have no actual strong evidential proof that we can use for a search warrant.
Because I know you're doing location, you check the locations, but from the outside, there's no way really to tell what's happening inside, so how?
It is difficult, especially when the location's locked and you can't get inside and nobody's answering the door, and we can't force our way in there. And like I said, we don't have enough specific factual information that's strong enough to get a search warrant for us to force entry into the location. Otherwise, that wouldn't be a problem.
And if we were to have factual information, how long does it take to get a search warrant?
Well, it depends. It depends how long it takes to get a hold of a judge, and it depends on the judge how quick they want to issue the warrant. So I can't give you a specific time frame. Some are quicker than others, and some they look at as less importance, and they take their time to issue us the authority.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
All right, at this point, yes, Councilmember, Vice Mayor Monica Garcia.
Thank you. I'm familiar with this location. One of my first jobs was done off of Little John, so I think it's a great location for this type of use. It's away from schools and residential areas. So I think it's great that you found this location, and I want to make the motion to approve this move. And I want to, support the move as soon as possible because I just think it's a great location.
I'll go ahead and second. Go ahead and do you mind reading the ordinance, item number 7, or you want me to read it?
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, it's a request to the City Council from the Planning Commission on an amendment to Development Agreement 18-18 to change the location from 14712 Arrow Highway to 4802 Little John Street, Suite A, for a cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility within the I industrial zone pursuant to Ordinance 1408, location 4802 Little John Street, Suite A, applicant The Grown Folks Incorporated, case number 18-18.
All right. Thank you. And that has been...
That's the motion to approve.
I'll second. Any objections? Seeing none, so move. All right, thank you. This one will go up to item A, which is a request to the City Council from the Planning Commission on the amendment to Development Agreement 18-19 to change the location from 4276 Elton Street to 4802 Little John Street, Suite B, for the cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility within the I industrial zone pursuant to Ordinance 1408, location 4802 Little John Street, Suite B, applicant WF International Corp., case number 18 and 19. So it's similar to the other one. So at this point, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, at this point, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Okay, at this point, council members have any question? If not, I'll read the actual ordinance. All right, if seeing none, at this point, I'd like to move for the for first reading by title only and waive further reading. Ordinance 1434, entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Baldwin Park, California, authorizing the Baldwin Park to enter into a development agreement with W&F International Corp. For the cultivation and/or manufacturing of cannabis at the real property located at 4802 Little John Street and Suite B, within the City of Baldwin Park. So that is my motion. Second, any objections? See none, so move. All right, at this point, we don't, at this point, I guess that's all we have. Huh? Oh, yes, that's right. All right, so let's go over to the, where's that look?
Yes, we had
okay, that's right.
a request by the Business Association to consider either partnering with them again with the state of the city, or we could go back to how we had done it in the past and have our own city event.
We have to make the decision now. Can we bring it back in the
We
second meeting at
don't, but I
19th?
know they are
Let's bring it
looking
back
for
on the
the
19th.
information soon. I think that would be fine.
Yeah, all right, so let's do it on the 19th. All right, so, oh boy, this will be the
Mayor,
shortest.
I just
Yes,
have
sir.
if you're done with your item?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to come back with the issues on the off-ramp off of Puente Avenue. And I know we wrote a letter, we sent it to Caltrans, signed by all the council members. And I wanted to get an update on where the meetings are with Caltrans in regards to that off-ramp. And, you know, Sam, if you could kind of update us where that's going.
Yeah, let me preface that we did have a very good meeting with Caltrans. They came to the table. We also invited representatives from Assemblymember and State Senator Rubio's office who were able to join us. There were actually three things we talked about, and I want to update you on a request that we'll be having probably on the next meeting, that the council send a letter to Caltrans requesting removal of portion of the sound wall that they put up near the Home Depot and the Sizzler area, and then they will consider and study that.
Okay.
Secondly, we found out recently that the previous Altamans Winnebago site, they were planning to use that for a maintenance yard in perpetuity, where we thought that it would be sold as excess property after they widen the off-ramp. So we're asking that they also then consider that selling that site as excess property, and the city normally would have the first right at that. They have given us a schedule. They have now committed to landscaping the underpass at Puente, where previously they were going to leave that up to the city. And then I'll let you, Sam can fill you in with the timeline for that. They did open up the on-ramp at Puente, and they were planning to open up
the off-ramp,
today, except for they don't do it in the rain, so that might happen next week.
So that's been moved to next
As far as the entire
Thursday.
project and the landscaping, I think Sam can give you a better idea on the timeline.
So the opening of the off-ramp has been moved to next Thursday pending no rain. So yes, as I want to echo what Shannon was saying, they pretty much committed to everything that we asked for on the letter, which were original permit conditions. So as Shannon mentioned, that includes re-landscaping of the slopes of the underpass. They have committed to providing me preliminary plans within 2 weeks. So we'll be able to look at what they're going to be doing in that slope. We also talked about updating and putting forth a maintenance agreement that would include the slopes and the pump house. There is other commitments that they're working on as far as timing in the intersections and getting all the traffic signals back to their original timing. And so we set up meetings, subsequent meetings, to address all of those issues. So they're going to be, the last item that they're going to be doing is the restriping and signing of the underpass and the exits. So they pretty much committed to be doing all the work that we asked them for.
And if I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask, on the street, the surface street around that area, are they going to complete doing the, the asphalt? Because I know that since there's been construction, the street's kind of, one level is lower than the other, and it looks like it needs to be redone. Now, who's responsible for, at the underpass to do that asphalt, and then the streets on Garvey going into toward the off-ramp? Are they going to be working on those sites?
So what we asked them for, and it's one of the commitments that they have told us that they will be doing, is paving the street up to the crosswalks on Puente and Dalewood. So what they did now is they stopped at a certain point when they lowered the grade of Puente Avenue, and they didn't take the pavement all the way to the intersections.
Oh, okay.
But in the letter, that was a commitment that we had originally established when we issued the permit, and they have expressed that they will live up to that commitment.
Okay, so then the landscaping, did they give you actual dates that they're going to be completing that landscape? I know they're going to have plans to you. I'd like to have the city council, at least, if you could just send us through email what the plans are. And
Absolutely.
Then when are they going to start to do the actual planting, implementation of that
So
landscaping?
we're expecting that they will start the landscaping work sometime in February. They're committed to doing the landscape outside of all of the landscape outside on the city side of the streets, while they're working inside of the freeway. So normally they would wait until everything is done and then start the landscape, but we've expressed that we wanted them to start that earlier. So they will be starting that work a lot earlier. They also, they confirmed that they're not eliminating any of the landscape per plan, so they're gonna stick to that. They're gonna landscape all of the areas on the city side, and which includes now the slopes at Puente Avenue.
Okay, so we're talking about the slopes on both sides
Yeah,
of
we're
that
talking
underpass.
about,
They're going to complete all that.
Right. So
Corner
all
to corner.
4 corners of that bridge on the slopes will be done.
The irrigation, is that complete, or is that still need work?
So the irrigation is complete. They did restore the irrigation. We did inspect it and accepted it. However, with the new landscape design that they are coming up with, there's going to be modifications to the irrigation. So they'll be modifying it to fit that landscape.
Now, are they going to maintain it, or we are?
So that was an interesting development. So we thought this whole time for over 50 years, we thought that the city was maintaining that. We found no agreement showing that it was the city's responsibility to maintain it. So as of right now, it's their responsibility to maintain it.
And they accepted that responsibility?
They have.
It's in the agreement.
Yes, and they have.
They have, but I think we're going to propose that we modify the agreement because we prefer that the city crews maintain that in the future, just because we do a higher quality job, we can respond faster and keep a closer eye on it. So we'll have that coming back in a revised agreement proposal.
Yes, so inclusive of the pump house. So we'll be maintaining the pump house and those slopes.
Okay. Are they going to refund us for the portion of work that we're doing?
No. So there's no no talk about.
They won't. It's voluntary. It's voluntary that we take it on. They would not reimburse us. The other option is to have them do it, but you know, that's a constant calling them to get them out there, and that, you know, they're maintaining 10 miles. One crew's maintaining 10 miles of freeway, and it's a constant hassle to get them to do it. It's pretty. Once it gets established, we have a low water palette, and we have low maintenance landscaping, and I think it will be very little cost for us to do it with our own crews.
Okay, because our crews didn't do a really good job in the last few years, so I want to make sure that they stay on top of it and do that. All right, thank you.
I have a quick question. I want to make sure I understood correctly. You said they're working on the preliminary plans for the underpass?
Yes, for the landscaping of the slopes at the Puente Underpass.
And are we giving them ideas of what we want, not so much what they want to give us?
Yeah, we gave them an initial concept for them to work off of. So they took that in, they're considering it, and they're adding, they're addressing what we want.
Perfect.
I don't think that in the first round we're going to get everything we asked for, but we're going to keep challenging them and getting them to give us what we want. I think because there's this maintenance agreement pending, we have some leverage.
Okay.
And Sam, if you could get the letter, because the new council members were not involved in the letter, if you could get that emailed to them, and if we have concept plans, we'll send them out to everybody.
Absolutely.
I did want to add that a couple items came up that we discussed, and we're talking with the construction people from Caltrans, and it's outside of their realm, and so we set up a separate meeting with their maintenance staff next week to talk about graffiti, paint matching. We have problems with trash and litter that you sometimes see coming off the on and off ramps into our city streets, making sure they have a schedule for street sweeping the on and off ramps, and a number of items that we're going to discuss with them. I think it's next Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday at 1:30 p.m.
Does that include, for example, the off ramp right there on Francisquito where the LA Fitness is? Everybody crashes into that. As you can see, there's always bumpers. Everything is always, it looks like there's always an accident there. And I don't see them cleaning up that mess. Is that part of that?
Yes, that will be, yes.
That will be
And
part
then
of it.
repairing that section, that's a very dangerous exit. They left it just as dangerous as it was from the beginning.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, I know that I previously asked, if you go down, go ahead south on Big Dalton, and you end up by around where the actual Walmart's at, and you have the wall. There's those what do you call it? I guess water drainage that are open, and they're very nasty. Is it storm drain? Okay, they're very nasty looking. But on the opposite side, there's covers on there, so we could do something about that.
Absolutely. That we can definitely talk to them. The folks that we're meeting with on Monday, that's under their purview, so we'll talk to them about that as well.
Then the next one, Shannon, you mentioned that you're speaking to them regarding the wall that covers up the hotel as well, the Guadalajara Grill. Okay, that'll be part of, okay, great, because some of the business persons asked me about that. All right, council members have anything else to say? Yes.
Item, Mayor, and I just wanted to, I know last couple of meetings back, I asked about a housing update, and to either do it, I think, at our second meeting of December. So I wanted to see if that was still going to take place on the 19th.
Yes, I believe you had talked to me about that, and we have that going, and I think we'll have that on the 19th.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, real quick before I end, I just want to say Mike Tui, I'm glad he's here. Mike Tui, for those of you that may or may not know him, he's a former mayor of the city of West Covina and also was part of the Upper San Gabriel Water District. Good friend of mine. I met him back in 1992, and he's always been at every election since I've been elected here. And of course, yesterday was my 10th time as mayor. And guess what? One of my good friends was not here. Yeah. So, and I couldn't believe it. It was like, where is Mike Tui? But nevertheless, I still love you, brother. So, okay, that's right. It's a good number. It's a good number. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and move for adjournment. That is my motion. Hello? Second. Okay. Second by Councilmember Avila. So at this point, good evening. Viva Baldwin Park. Buenas noches. Thank you.